Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Hello and welcome. My name is Jed Lee, and this is Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you with love from the historical neighborhood of Reedville, tucked into the southwest corner of beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. Our mission here is all about connection, connecting kids with books, families with each other, and communities through the power of story. Every week we're joined by incredible authors and creators whose work lights up kids' lives. You can support our mission by spreading the word, share the show with your friends, give us a shout out at school, and let folks know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Good Pods, CastBox, Audible, Player FM. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. We have a really wonderful show for you today. First up, JP Boneyard is here to celebrate animals of the national parks. And later in the show, Michael Schwartz will be here to celebrate his YA novel. It's called Split. Hey, we want to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Zevo Life. Visit zevo.life and use the promo code READ to get 30% off your order. I have a question for all you parents, caregivers, and book lovers. Do you ever wish you had a little bit more zip in your step when you're reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar for the 5th time today? Say hello to Zevo Life, your new best friend in daily wellness. Zevo Life is the world's most nutrient-dense whole plant loaded with 50% plant protein, essential amino acids, fiber, antioxidants, and so much more. It's a powerhouse in just 1 teaspoon a day. And yes, it's giving people more energy, better gut health, and even healthier skin and hair. Boy, I could use healthier. I could use some hair. If you ever want to feel more energized, focused, and vibrant during your next animated storytime performance, Zevo Life might just be your secret weapon. Visit zevo.life and use the promo code READ to get 30% off your order. It comes with a 30-day risk-free guarantee. You've got nothing to lose except that sluggishness. So head on over to zevo.life. That's ZIVO.life. Use the promo code READ and get 30% off and a 30-day risk-free guarantee. Before we invite our guests into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. Clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. The Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker. Join us right now from Austin and the great state of Texas, where all the cool people live, I hear. Our guest is here today to celebrate his wonderful picture book series called The Animals of the National Parks. Please welcome to the show, JP Boneyard. Hey, JP, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jed. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Right now, folks, you're listening, you can't see. I'm looking into JP's space, and he has these beautiful prints. Are they prints behind you?
Yes.
Beautiful prints of fauna, vegetation that you might see in a national park, along with some real live, I'm assuming those are real live plants underneath.
Yes, that's right. I've had, this is a clipping from a much bigger plant that I've had for probably 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
A mentor gave me a clipping all those years ago, and now it's kind of exploded into 4 or 5 different really big plants.
My wife has one of those, and it's right now it interferes. It's wrapped around the TV. And
Yep.
when my wife first did it, she goes, "Oh, this is kind of cute. It just frames, but it keeps growing, and it keeps,
Yes.
so I can't see the score as it's crawling on the bottom of the screen because all
Sure.
the vegetation's there."
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it though. Mine is also around where my television is, usually to watch NBA games.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, sometimes I might need to trim that a bit.
So JP was telling me before we hit record that he's originally from Massachusetts and spent lots of time here in Boston studying at Mass College of Art. And we probably weren't, you probably walked around Jamaica Pond many times when you were living there, which is someplace that I ran around every day in my junior and senior year of high school to get my fat self a little bit less fat and ready for the soccer season.
Yes, as religiously I would go there nearly every day. It's one of my favorite spots. And the Arboretum down the street. Probably my favorite thing about Boston is how walkable it is, and quite different from Austin, where you have to have a car to get around most places. But yeah, the pond is some of my fondest memories there.
For those of you who don't know, Boston had this really neat thing called the Emerald Necklace, which just kind of runs from down in by Fenway Park all the way out to the more suburban neighborhoods, and Jamaica Pond is part of that. I have to tell you though, JP, and people who aren't from Boston are going to be bored with this, but I hate driving on the Jamaica Way. That is the most treacherous.
It's a little narrow, and people are going probably 10 or 20 over the speed limit. Usually.
Oh, yeah. If the speed limit is 25, I've never, ever in my life driven only 25. It's always 45, and that's just to keep up with the traffic.
Yes.
Yeah. So we should tell everybody why we're really getting together, not just reminiscing over JP. The Animals of the National Park. Tell us about this book, please.
Yes, it's something that we've been working on for a number of years. Very excited about it. Our background is in printmaking and illustration, art, design, but this was an opportunity to combine some of the artwork with a story and then create something that was maybe more of a educational component to it. And the artwork existed originally as a small alphabet series, so animals from the national parks going A through Z. And then eventually we compiled that into a hardcover book, and then worked in a light narrative, but then also wanted to lean into some of the fun facts about the animals. In some ways, it's like they have superpowers, where can you imagine if you could run 40 miles an hour, or if you're a peregrine falcon, it can dive over 200 miles an hour, or hold your breath for 8 minutes underwater. That would be pretty amazing. So I can only think of myself as a kid reading that and just being fascinated. So I think the book is listed for ages 2 to 5, but I see it as an all ages sort of book, because as someone who's into art and design and history and education, there's something for everyone here, even just from an inspiration perspective. We're talking about the wonderful work that Kim Smith did on the illustrations. This is absolutely something I would see in a gift shop and buy just for that alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're part of something called 59 Parks. Am I right about that?
Yes, yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so that is the collective of sorts, the umbrella that we do all of our work underneath. I'm one of 2 consistent people that are working on pretty much every project that we put out, but it's always collaborative. So for this book, for example, we worked with Canadian illustrator Kim Smith, who we'd worked with on a number of national park posters before this book. So that's part of the joy of getting to do this, is working with so many different people from literally all over the world. And I think for the subject matter of the national parks, or in this instance, all the different animals there, it feels like an extra layer of meaning to have an eclectic mix of visual styles to match the sort of eclectic nature or the unique nature of each of the parks, because a park in Texas may be wildly different from one in Washington State. Or, you go over to the Everglades, that's going to be very different from maybe visiting Arches in Utah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, we're blessed with, here in the States, we have, is it 59?
It was when we started. We're at 63 now.
Okay. My favorite national park is in Puerto Rico, El Yunque.
Okay, yeah, I haven't been yet.
It's a rainforest. It's absolutely beautiful. They've done some work to kind of repair a lot of the damage that happened in Hurricane Maria. But it's just gorgeous. And it's so important to the people of Puerto Rico because they credit El Yunque with saving the island from further damage from a lot of hurricanes. A lot of hurricanes hit the island, and some of them just kind of hang over El Yunque and spare the rest of the island. And so it's a beautiful place that the people there absolutely adore.
Yeah. When did you visit?
I've visited many times. I toured Puerto Rico. First started I married my beautiful wife 35 years ago. So that was my first visit was 35 years ago. And then, I consistently, did performance tours there, for about 10 years, and I would always visit, El Yunque. With a funny story, if my beautiful wife was here, she would tell me to tell them about the time we got to the top of El Yunque and you looked down, there was no more gas in your car and you had to coast down to the gas station. And I'm like, yeah, I did that.
You made it, though.
I made it. That's what I said to her. I go, I made it. What are you complaining?
Yes. Gravity came through in the clutch.
Yeah. Tell me, do you have a favorite national park?
It's so hard to answer, but a handful of special ones. Definitely Glacier, Joshua Tree, Sequoia, Big Bend. Pretty much every park I leave thinking, wow, that's my new favorite.
Yeah.
But I think part of what colors the experience is sometimes what era in your life you went, who you went with. And so I feel like that's also what I'm picturing is the friends I went with, or family, or my partner. So it's that kind of thing that I think also helps make them feel special. But they're so unique, too. So when you visit a park that might feel like an alien planet, like, well, that's easily the coolest park I've ever been to. And then you continue on your trip, and then at the next park, it might just be the same. Or there's fossilized trees, or just there's so much history in these places. Even if it's not an epic landscape, it might be the history that's there. Or it's a geothermal pools. These are all things you don't normally see, especially if you're coming from a New England area, where it might as well be a different planet.
Right.
But yeah, just it's all so cool.
Yeah. One of the things as we're talking here and talking about the book, I'm imagining this would be a great way for us to talk to our kids about how blessed we are to live in a country that first recognize that these areas that deserve to be protected.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And also, it's a great way to talk to our kids about the fact that this nation, the United States, is such a diverse place. It's such a big, and it's diverse, in terms of people, but also just in terms of the landscape. I mean, El Yunque is completely different than Joshua Tree, which is different than Glacier and Acadia. And it's hard to imagine that we have all these different parts of different places in our country.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. Is there's the diversity of the people, and it's represented in the land, and then vice versa. And the fact that you can drive to all these places, minus if we're talking about obviously Hawaii or Puerto Rico or Alaska, people would usually opt to fly to, taking a detour through a lot of Canada to get up there. But for the rest of the the other states. You can just get in a car and drive, and how amazing that is. Or some are accessible by train, and you can just take a fun train ride. And so, yeah, I love that. It's right there.
Yeah, a few years back, just before the pandemic, I had an epic cross-continent trip where I drove from Boston to Orlando to St. Louis to Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
And then back. And boy, there are parts I drove across the panhandle of Texas and New Mexico, and there are parts where you can see for 100 miles in every direction, and there's nothing out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's true on one hand when you're observing, and then if you stop and get out and start looking around, you notice, like, again, these plants feel like they're from a different planet. The animals that you'll see there are so unique and interesting, and just how I think I focus on the resiliency of some of the plants and animals to live, and especially if you're in the middle of nowhere in Arizona, like, how cool is that? So I get fascinated by the color of the rocks and things, and I'm sometimes taking notes for different color palettes we could use for things that aren't even national park related, but just as someone who's interested in color for the work that we do. But you're right, you can absolutely look for 100 miles and just it looks like there's maybe nothing, especially when you're used to, again, New England, tall, dense forests and lakes and rivers, and yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's interesting that I had, when I was a kid, I had a reoccurring nightmare, and it wasn't that I was going to be eaten by a monster or anything. It was that I was by myself in a desert. There was nothing around me. And I think it's like you said, here in New England, we're always surrounded by buildings or trees or whatever. But that to me was just, that would wake me up at night, just like, oh, give me some.
That does sound intense, but by contrast of what you're used to, and especially again New England, it's built up more densely, and if not the cover of trees, it's buildings, and that is radical in terms of different perspective.
Yeah. Tell me what, you are, were you the project manager of Animals of the National Parks? You're the author of the text? What's your specific role in this project?
Yeah, I wear many different hats, basically whatever needs to get done. 99% of the time we're collaborating with an illustrator. So that's usually the one consistent part that I won't be doing. But yes, for the text for this one, that's something that I wrote and worked on, and then curating the list, and then the research, that's something myself and my friend Brian Buccaroni, who also helps run 59 Parks with me, that's something we did together. And yeah, it's one of those things where we start laying out the book, and we always have concepts for what the illustrations will be, but definitely leave room for there to be some spontaneity or creativity in terms of what the illustrator can bring to the project. So, for example, and so for better or worse, sometimes we're very specific, but if we're saying it's going to be an American bison and a golden field, and it's not going to specifically, doesn't have to be Grand Teton, but it'd be nice to picture that's the place in the world, so that way we can be accurate with the flora and fauna that might be in the background. So Kim had the idea to put the magpie riding on their back, which is something you'll often see, and as it just adds a cute little extra bit of narrative to the scene, because that's something we always want to show is a narrative of some kind, not just a static image, but something that can get your imagination going, or it's almost like you have a prompt for the story, and then you can fill in the blanks if you want about where the moose is going, or how long are the magpie and the American bison, are they friends, or it could be anything. How long have they traveled together? So yes, it's always collaborative, and then my role in what we do is often quite different.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. One of the things that we encourage families to do, for a couple of reasons, is to take a picture walk through a book. And, if your kid is able to read, maybe you cover up the text and you just kind of walk through and talk about what do you think this is? And what do you think they're saying here? And it's neat. And it's especially neat if a parent isn't real comfortable and confident in their own reading, just to experience that and have those conversations. And I think Animals of the National Parks would be a perfect opportunity to take that picture walk.
Yeah, thank you. And that's a great idea. I love that. Even if it's just, which one of these cool, unique traits would you like to have? Or again, where do you think they're going? Or, moose happen to be fantastic divers. How far can you swim underwater? There's even just the prompts and questions that might come from the book itself.
I had no idea that moose could die.
Yeah, we didn't either. It's one of those things where the main challenge of the book is to find compelling animals A through Z that also represent a wide mix of the parks, so you have nice variety. And then you also want to make sure that each region of the country is represented. And it's harder than you might think. And points where, we're just looking at the list and it's a complex puzzle where you change one animal and then it has a ripple effect where two more have to change. And now you've lost the chipmunk that you have to have a chipmunk in there somewhere. You have to have a wolf of some kind. But there's some flexibility with, they're just going to call them W wolf or G for gray wolf. But yeah, that's at times I feel like our brains were, at least for me, it's just getting hot. It's like, this is a lot of computing power to figure this out. But then once we had the list locked in, it became a thing of, okay, what are the compelling facts about the animals? So we would do a deep dive and sometimes 5 to 10 different fun facts. And then we're looking for variety amongst the different animals. You don't want to have too many repeat sort of interesting facts. So, yeah, that was a fun part of the challenge. And we actually learned something. We have a book that we're working on. It's a follow-up to this, and it's more about pint-sized creatures and crawly creatures of the national parks. So there's animals like tarantula that you normally, if you haven't, especially like us, we haven't grown up around them. You see them and might think danger or kind of creepy. But after doing enough research about their sort of personalities and they're basically just as scared of you as you are of them. And then you start to think they're actually kind of cute, which I never thought I'd have that feeling about one of the largest spiders in the world. So I like that too. Is there's less with this book because most of the animals I think are objectively cute, but some people might be afraid of the larger animals. But there's just an opportunity to lean into the educational component, but also reverence for art, nature, and wildlife. And I just think that's a fun opportunity when kids are at that age.
Yeah, absolutely. JP, I was up in Maine on a whitewater rafting trip along the Penobscot River, and the day before the trip, I took my bike out for a ride. I went like 25 miles, and on the way back, I'm pedaling down the road. I'm by myself, and all of a sudden, I hear this noise coming up behind me, and I look over my shoulder, and it's a moose running alongside me on the highway, and I'm like, well, this is really cool. And then I said, no, this is really terrifying. If she turns into me, I'm dead.
Yeah. Wow. How long did they run along with you?
I would say probably a quarter mile or so, because she was cooking, and then she just kind of veered off into the woods, and I breathed a sigh of relief and thought, oh, this is gonna make a good story someday.
Yeah. After you made it. What was your takeaway? I mean, it seems like a beautiful animal to see that close, and then also at speed like that. And
it really was. I think that's one of the things that I'm always amazed at. Even like with my daughter has this beautiful dog that just loves to run, and it's just muscle.
Yeah,
I just love to watch it run and to see. And the same thing with the moose. It was like, Well, we're just sharing the space together. There's no one else around, and I'm just in awe with nature.
Yes.
I'm really happy that I didn't grow up with all the screens that kids have today. That we spent a lot of time living in the city, growing up in the city, but there's a lot of nature that you can find in the city.
Absolutely.
If you're willing to climb over some fences and things.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, usually at that age, you're climbing the trees anyway. So what's
Exactly.
a 6-foot fence?
Exactly.
Yeah. Not that we're advocating anyone do that.
No, of course not.
Respect.
Hey, tell us what people can find on your website. I'm looking on your website. There's some incredible art there, and so
thank you.
Yeah, just talk to us a little bit about what we can find if we go to 59parks.net.
Yes. Primarily, we're known for hand-printed, screen-printed posters. So those are usually about 18 by 24 in size, so little poster size. And for the most part, it's national parks focused. Sometimes we deviate or just have fun art prints that might be the connective thread is just nature in general. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we also have a few other books, fun things like coloring books of our artwork, and we have a memory matching game for animals of the national parks. I don't think it's on our website yet, but that's something that exists. That's really fun. There's a bingo game in the works. So, yeah, in the more recent years, we've branched out in terms of just doing the one thing that, we still love, doing screen-printed posters and national park posters. I think to mix it up a bit, this has been really interesting to explore different avenues.
Yeah, and I see on your website you have a couple of posters of some of my heroes. Or is it a book? Larry Legend and Bill Russell?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning that. That's a new book that we are working on. And those are screen-printed versions of the actual chapter on Larry Bird, Bill Russell, and maybe Magic Johnson. We put that on there because it is something that 59 Parks is producing, even though it's adjacent in that it's a similar approach in terms of the collaboration and creativity, but it is not national park themed.
Right.
I would say we've seen younger people at events that are 10 or 12, and they totally get it. Like, is that Steph Curry as St. Sebastian? Is that Bill Russell? I was like, how do you know that? Maybe need to give him more credit, but how do you know who Bill Russell is? That's wild. So that book will be probably 2027 when that comes out. That's 50 players and dang near 100 different writers and illustrators. Supporting illustrations are there to help, share some visuals or some context for the actual written piece.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's exciting. There's all kinds of folks from all over the world, and Jackie McMullen is one that I spoke, writer that I spoke with recently, and will be working on the Shaquille O'Neal story. So that's
awesome.
Yeah,
very cool.
Skews older audience, but I think younger folks can still get into it.
Well, I can see the connection. Our national parks are certainly national treasures. And as someone who grew up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s in Boston, I think that Larry Bird and Bill Russell are national treasures as well.
Absolutely. Bill Russell is on my Mount Rushmore of American figures. So one of my favorite people.
Absolutely. Well, we've already told people where they can go to find out more about animals of the national parks. It's 59parks.net.
Yes, that's right.
Excellent. Well, we've had a great time speaking to the driving force behind animals of the national parks. Our guest has been JP Boneyard. JP, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you, Jed. I appreciate it.
Hey, my friends, I have a super idea you are going to love. How about this weekend, turn your backyard cookout into a storybook celebration? Fire up the grill, crack open a few of your favorite picture books, and serve up Big Fork Brand's legendary bacon sausage. Made with nitrate-free bacon and premium pork, it's juicy, smoky, and unforgettable. Top it off with Big Fork's spicy Chicago fire sauce, and you've got a meal as bold as the characters in your favorite bedtime tale. Get 20% off your order using the promo code READ at bigforkbrands.com. That's bigforkbrands.com. Promo code READ to get 20% off, because nothing brings families together like great food, great books, and a whole lot of flavor. Big Fork Brands. Read, grill, repeat. Hey, my friends, you know one of my favorite parts of the day is story time. There's just something magical about snuggling up with your kids, opening a great book, and escaping into an adventure together. And let me tell you, that moment becomes even more magical when you're curled up in the softest, coziest bedding you've ever felt. That's why I'm so excited that CozyEarth.com is supporting reading with your kids. Their bamboo sheets, comforters, and pajamas are unbelievably soft, naturally breathable, and temperature regulating, which means no more sweaty nights or chilly toes. Right now, Cozy Earth is offering Reading with Your Kids listeners an unbelievable and exclusive 41% off their entire site. That's right, you heard me right, 41% off. So go ahead, create your own cozy reading nook, wrap yourself and your kids up in something comfy, grab your favorite bedtime book, and turn story time into the best part of your day. Head on over to CozyEarth.com and use the promo code READ at checkout to save 41%. That's CozyEarth.com, promo code READ. Join us right now from right outside Buffalo in the great state of New York. Our guest is here today to celebrate his new YA novel. It's called Split. Please welcome to the show, Michael Schwartz. Michael, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Delighted to have you on. This is a very intriguing book. Split is all about Ethan, who is a chimera.
That's right. Ethan has two different sets of DNA. Normally, obviously, each of us have our own unique DNA fingerprint, but Ethan has, because of the way he was born, has two different sets of DNA, one on his left side and one on his right side. And the characteristics and features of his left side resemble that of his father, and the characteristics of on his right side resemble that of his mother. And he's struggling to figure out who he's going to become.
Okay, so before we get into, this is mind-boggling. You saying the DNA on one side or the other. So if the DNA examiner swabs my left cheek, he's going to get one set of DNA, and he swabs the cheek a different set of DNA?
If you're a chimera, yes. It's been popularized on a couple of TV shows. There was an All My Children episode. There was a CSI episode where the perpetrator, they tested his DNA on the left side and it didn't match with that of the crime scene. And then they tested that on the right side like slightly later in the episode because they figured it had to be him. It just had to be. And it turned out that was the side where it's matched. But a chimera basically, in this instance for Ethan, is he's someone that was a set of fraternal twins, or essentially so twins that don't look alike. Mm-hmm. Were early in gestation. Unfortunately, one of the twins died, and the genetic material was absorbed by the other.
We always talk about how wonderful nature is, but nature can be pretty weird at the same time.
It can be. It happened. It wasn't really recognized for, I don't know, probably quite a long time. The first time was in 1946 that somebody recognized it, and it didn't gain kind of clinical understanding until the late 90s. But it's estimated that somewhere between 1 and 8 multiparous pregnancies, so where there's initially more than one child inside the womb, results in some type of chimera.
Wow. So I'm guessing that Ethan, because he's concerned about which DNA is going to kind of lead his life, I'm guessing his mom and dad aren't alike at all.
Yeah, no, unfortunately they're not. Or maybe for the story, fortunately they are. But his father is a bit of an irritable and eventually violent man, while his mother is actually much more passive. And so he's struggling because he's worried that his father's DNA is the side that's going to be dominant, because nothing ends in a tie in this world, right? one side has to win, and that's what he keeps thinking in his head, that nothing ends in a tie. One side has to win, and he's worried that that one side is going to be his father's.
I guess one of the biggest questions that the book raises is that whole nurture versus nature kind of conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's what is more important in this instance, your genetics or the environment in which you're raised in. And for Ethan, he's working to struggle and figure that out throughout the novel.
Yeah. What inspired this book for you?
So I wanted to actually write a nature versus nurture book. And I was looking, I mean, they've existed forever and everybody has their own twist. And I was kind of looking for mine. And I was in the pediatric cardiology office where I worked, and we were talking about a patient who was a chimera, and she was there for a heart problem that wasn't really too severe, but her primary care physician noticed that she was a little bit different. Sometimes they have some red splotchy skin on one side versus another. If you look at their hair color, it's not like Two-Face from the movies or from the comic books in Batman, where it's completely left and right, but the hair color looks just a little bit different. For Ethan, for example, the biggest difference that he has, though, is he has what's called heterochromia, or two different colored eyes. And that's probably the telltale sign, or the most obvious sign, that kind of might suggest to someone that you might be a chimera, because there was about somewhere between 8 and 10 different genes that set up what your eye color is going to be. And as your mom and dad mix their DNA in the blender, you can sometimes end up with the same eye color and sometimes not. And so for a chimera, you can have two different colored eyes. And that's what Ethan has. Wow.
That's, and I'm imagining just that fact alone, throws a lot of complications into Ethan's life. And in addition to just being worried about how he's going to grow up, I'm sure he was a target of bullying or all sorts of unkind.
Yeah. So anything that makes anybody else different, obviously you get ostracized and cast aside. And Ethan is no different in this instance. No, obviously nobody else in the school and nobody else around him has ever seen anybody with two different colored eyes. And Ethan can't really explain it, and neither can anyone else, at least in the beginning part of the book, but it doesn't matter. He's different and he's pushed aside until he, of course, meets his friend.
Yeah. Yeah. We love talking about the kind of conversations that families can have as they're reading or co-reading a book together. Split just looks like it like a month's worth of conversations can come from this book.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I'm obviously biased in that answer, but there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to think about where you grow up in your environment and how you're going to be more like your mother or how you're going to be a little less like your father, how different attributes of your parents get passed along. For me, for example, my son is a exact replica of myself. I mean, he looks 100% like myself, except he has red hair, actually. And my daughter is 100% replica of my wife. She's like, photocopy.
Yeah. Thankfully, my daughter is a photocopy of my beautiful wife too, and my son, come to think of it. So they lucked out in that way.
Indeed. My poor kid, huh?
Now, you're a scientist, you're a physician's assistant. How do you have time to write on top of that?
There's nobody bothering you usually, or there's nobody bothering me at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And so in general, that's kind of when I was writing Split. I kind of woke up a couple hours earlier, spent an hour or two on the computer, and then started the day. Yeah. So that was kind of my schedule for probably about 6 months or so. And then once it's down on paper, it's easier to squirrel in 30 minutes to edit this and edit that. But getting it down on the page required kind of a dedicated couple of months, if you will.
Yeah. Was it kind of a light bulb moment when you were in your office and you heard about this patient who was chimera? Was like, boom, I gotta read this.
It was perfect because the way I function as a human is that I always have something in the back of my brain thinking about, a scientific study or a patient that we're taking care of. And this had kind of been in the back of my brain for a couple of months. And I was always kind of thinking about what was going to be my twist on that novel. And I'm just kind of walking through the day looking for something, hoping something would pinch me. And I got pinched. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect.
Did you reveal to the patient that
Nope.
you were inspired by?
No, but ironically, the funny thing is I actually joined a writers group after I wrote my first probably couple of chapters, and this was actually during COVID, so we were all meeting through Zoom and online, and this is how small a world it is. Out of the 5 other writers that were there, one of the women, her son was a chimera. She wanted to essentially leave the group right away and start talking to him and looking at his different, characteristics, because it's something she was told, but she didn't actually know the background of it or any of the scientific basis for anything. And she just kind of was like, oh, okay, that, and it doesn't change anything for the patient. Right. It doesn't change anything for the person, but it's something that you can kind of be leveraged, if you will, for a story.
Yeah. Wow. Obviously, this is something that fascinates you. You in this scientific world, what is it that drives you and your curiosity? Is there one main thing that just kind of like, yeah, that's something I want to explore a little bit further?
I like writing about characters that have a unique medical or scientific diagnosis. Something like a chimera, for example, like something that isn't well known to the general population, and kind of leveraging those characteristics for the purposes of a story. So, the other options that I kind of worked down in the past are, for example, someone who is receiving a heart transplant and has essentially ill feelings toward the world, if you will. Somebody who might be having seizures and in that aura beforehand has kind of some feelings that are maybe predictive of what might happen in the future. Just basically using scientific and medical diagnoses to leverage for a good story.
Yeah. It sounds like you're one of these people who are like, I respect this large body of information and knowledge that we've acquired, but we don't have it all yet. There's still some things that we have to figure out.
Oh, there's a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, what we know is much more than what we knew 100 years ago or even 20 years ago. But there's not a complete understanding of really anything in medicine and even in science. I mean, everybody's working on a more finite level to get down, to really understand the overall big picture.
Yeah. You're different than most of the doctors I've encountered. Especially it first came to me when I was advocating for folks with disabilities. And I had heard through the people in that community that doctors were arrogant and they didn't want to, they were mean to us and they didn't listen to us. And I certainly found that to be true when my mom got to be very elderly.
I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't you. But there are a lot of doctors who are like, no, I'm the expert. I know everything. And I love that you have this this attitude that, yeah, we know a lot, but there's a lot we don't know yet. Everybody
needs to keep learning from a physician to a scientist to a teacher. There's always new things that are coming out. That is evolution. It's you have to, move with the times. And if you don't, you're stuck 20, 30, 40 years behind. And it's never a good thing for you as an individual, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the other challenges Ethan runs into in this story?
Well, you mentioned the bullying. That's kind of maybe an external conflict for him, at least at school. And because, again, he's working and struggling as a teenager, so he's trying to find relationships with people in his house and also outside of his house as well. So it's trying to form friendships with someone, especially because he does look so different. He hasn't really been able to do that in the past. And then also it's him coming home and struggling with his own family life, where his mother is very passive and he tries to talk with her about some things, but she's just one of those people that not from any fault of her own. She just likes to kind of introvertedly go into her own room when things aren't going right. And so he's an only child. And so when things aren't going right, he's kind of left there alone. And so his only friend, his only like conduit for how to solve things actually becomes books for a little while. That he can start to read through books, and kind of he gets a set of encyclopedias actually. Back when, before we had the internet, we had like people used to go and buy us sets of encyclopedias, and his grandparents buy him a set of encyclopedias, and he's searching for all the answers to all the questions that he has that no one else seems to answer for him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know about you, but growing up in our neighborhood, we grew up in the inner city, and it seemed like everybody's house had a set of encyclopedias, but no one had the full set because they were buying monthly, and you get up to M or O, and then they just go, we're not going to do this anymore.
Well, I actually grew up on a beef farm, if you believe it, so kind of a different environment, but we did have a full 1988 set of World Book encyclopedias. I can thank my parents for that. That was the Christmas gift for the family one year.
That was great. You mentioned at some point that Ethan does find a friend. Can you tell us a little bit about the friend?
Yeah. So his friend actually he meets after having an asthma attack. So one of the things that chimeras often have is they often have allergies and asthma, and there's a bunch of really boring reasons for that. But Ethan has an asthma attack in school. And it's basically at the first day of 6th grade, so where all the elementary schools coalesce, and he meets a boy for the first time named Mo, and Mo notices that he's having the asthma attack, and they kind of befriend each other from that point moving forward.
All right. Well, asthma, allergies, I have both of those. I wonder, but both of my eyes are blue, so probably
yeah,
not.
you're probably good.
Hey, what other medical I don't know if oddities or curiosities are you considering writing about?
So I'm working now on something. Basically, it's examining whether people. Sorry, it's looking at a patient with what's called a ventricular assist device. So basically, a heart pump that circulates the blood for the patient.
Oh.
And so what happens in that is that for the most part, those people don't have a pulse. And so this character, because he doesn't have a pulse, he doesn't really feel alive.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so he's put in a situation where he has to choose between either action or inaction and indifference. Uh-huh. And so then obviously it's the pulseless, heartless individual trying to choose to either move forward with action or inaction and an indifference.
Wow. This is fascinating. Tell me what's the reaction of the folks that you work with? Are they intrigued, or do they walk around saying, "Don't say anything about that patient around Michael"?
No. I mean, everybody's all supportive for the people that I work with, and I mean, you can talk about patient diagnoses. You just obviously can't talk about individual patients. But as long as you're talking in the global sense, that's all well and good, and it's informative to the general public and people might find it interesting. That's why I think a lot of medical and scientific literature that has a basis like that does kind of well, because it's informative not only from the story, but you learn, a couple extra facts about that as well, or extra facts about something.
Yeah. No, I do think it's a great way to learn. And it's the way that human beings have been learning forever, through story.
Right. I mean, it's generational stories and information that's passed down from, one to the next, to the next, to the next, and then you start writing it down and then keep a record, right? Yeah. I mean, that's how we've grown as a society and a world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, like I said earlier, I think that this would be a fascinating book for families to co-read together. Talk about great conversations on the way to school or soccer or whatever. What's the youngest age you think that this would that a kid would be into this book be?
I probably would say 12, 13. I wouldn't go much younger than that. There are a couple of heavier topics that an 8 or 9-year-old may not do well reading about. But I think certainly anywhere over the age of 12 or 13, they'd have a good conversation with their parents during and afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm imagining too, this might just inspire some kids to maybe think about exploring medicine or science, just to, I think a lot of kids think of science, it's kind of boring, but if they're introduced to characters that are really, that are very different in these kind of medical, mysteries, I think that could inspire lots of kids to, consider, medicine.
I hope.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great field. It's a great career choice. You get to help a lot of people. I mean, it's very, very rewarding, obviously. Especially in a surgical subspecialty, like you get to see somebody who's critically ill, and it's basically instant gratification. You take them to the operating room and you hopefully make them better, and you send them home in a couple of weeks, and they're thankful, and we're thankful for the opportunity to try to improve their lives.
Yeah. Well, I can tell from experience. I had blew out both of my quad tendons simultaneously. Told that never happens, but they jumped in, rolled them back down, sewed me up back together, and the people at the rehab were so delighted. They actually never saw me walk because of the healing process. But when I went back a couple of months later and was walking, they were thrilled.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad injury. I'm sorry you had to have that.
I am too, but it was a learning experience. So were
you playing on the offensive line of the Patriots?
No, I missed a step.
Oh, all right. Well,
landed on my feet. Then
all right.
So, anyways, hey, tell us where we can go to find out more about Split and find out more about you.
So michaelschwartzwrites.com is my website, and Split is coming out in the end of August 29th, and should be available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, wherever you want to go find it. It's there.
Awesome. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Split, new YA title from our guest, Michael Schwartz. Hey, Michael, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We are so very happy that you spent part of your day with us here at Reading with Your Kids. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please consider passing it on. Share the link, leave a 5-star review, and hit that subscribe button so you can join us for the next episode of the show. If you haven't done so already, please connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, and at JedleyMagic on X. And also, please be sure to check out readingwithyourkids.com. It is the hub for all things Reading with Your Kids, including how to become a guest, join our Certified Great Read program, and explore amazing new books. I want to give a heartfelt thanks to today's guest. Please be sure to check out JP Boneyard's Animals of the National Parks. And also Michael Schwartz. Please be sure to check out his YA novel, Split. I want to thank our sponsors, BigForkBrands.com, CozyEarth.com, and Zevo.life. Use the promo code READ to save big at all those great sponsors. Hey, in addition to give a big thanks and shout out to our sponsors, we want to give a big shout out and thanks to you. When you use our promo code READ, you can help the podcast zooming along like a rocket fueled by a bedtime story. Yep, we might earn a small commission, and we really appreciate it. Also want to thank my incredible team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Elle Glassman, Dante Greco. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. You are helping to shape a kinder, smarter world, and you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.
Listen close, get ready to move. It's time to groove. Hey you, yes you, come join the fun. Feet tapping to the beat, under the sun. Grab a friend, let's all sway. When the doo-bug dances, we play all day. We play all day. Wave your arms like a butterfly. Turn around. we reach the sky. Swing your arms, let laughter rise. Doodlebug dance, we're gonna fly. Can you shake? Oh yes we can. Doodlebug dance, it's the greatest plan. Dance like a doodlebug side to side. Clap your hands, let's take this ride. Spin around and twist your hips. With every move we'll let it rip. Dance like a doodlebug. Now the beat stops, let's freeze. Strike a pose with playful ease. Are you ready? Here we go. Back to dancing. Feel the flow. Every time we gather here, laughter echoes spreading cheer. Dance together, young and old. Doodlebug moves never getting cold. Twirling around, we're having fun. Under the stars till the night is done. Can you groove? Yes, we can. Doodlebug dance, come join the clan. Dance like a doodlebug side to side. Clap your hands, let's take this ride. Spin around and twist your hips. With every move we'll let it rip. Dance like a doodlebug. What you do, dance like a doodlebug. Dance like a doodlebug. Dance like a doodlebug. So gather round, don't miss out. Join the fun, that's what it's about. With every laugh and every hug, let's all dance like a doodlebug. Come on now, let's dance now. Doodlebug style.